Hey guys, Kamina the Koach here. Sorry. I am sitting in my car because it's just beautiful outside. I think I'm gonna sit outside after this video. I am really sunburned from yesterday. You probably can't tell, but I am really sunburned from yesterday. But I'm probably still gonna sit out in the sun anyways. It's good for mood. Anyways, I'm not gonna babble. If you are in relationship with an adoptee, this video is for you. If you're in a romantic relationship, if you are adoptive family, if you are original family, if you're a friend to an adoptee, this video is for you. So originally my channel was mostly aimed at people that were looking to work and teach abroad, because I worked and taught abroad for almost 10 years in 8 different countries, some of the countries multiple times, with the COVID coming in, and honestly with me turning 40 and being ready to return back to the United States so I could have meaningful relationships. My channel has shifted gears. I am a transracial, so transracial adoptee, meaning I was adopted by white parents. I'm very obviously not white. I am biracial, half Italian, half African American. And I'm a late discovery adoptee, meaning I was not told the truth about my origins. I had to discover later in life. So the mixture of all of these things makes for an interesting conglomerate of BS that my partner and friends are forced to deal with on a daily basis. So let's dive in. If you are in relationship with adoptees, so this is not like across the board, for I say this all the time, for as many adoptees as there are in the world, there are that many different stories. I'm just going to give a generalization, so don't shoot the messenger. If this doesn't apply to your adoptee, maybe you're very lucky, but all of us in general have abandonment issues. We are always pretty much sure that the person that we love is going to leave. And how that manifests itself in our actions can take different forms. So how anyone has a relationship is largely based on attachment style. And attachment style, so that's how we choose to attach. So some are anxious avoidant, some are very clingy, and I forget all of the proper words. Please remember, I'm not a clinician or a doctor. So I am not an anxious avoidant. I'm definitely a clinger. And for me personally, that is largely about needing the mother. So for those of you who don't really know or don't understand it, taking a child, so some adoptees weren't adopted at birth. Some adoptees got to be with their mothers for a longer period of time. But when you take a child from their mother at birth, this in itself is a form of trauma. It doesn't really make sense to most people because you're like, well, they're a baby, they don't remember. So there's an amazing book by Bessel van der Kolk, The Body Keeps the Score. So largely about preverbal trauma and the way that the body holds preverbal trauma, even trauma that we don't have a name for, that we can't put our finger on. So what that means is that preverbal trauma, the trauma that we had before we had vocabulary, has actually rewired our brains and has stored itself in our body and plagues us. Definitely has an effect on our attachment style and our abandonment issues. So for somebody who is anxious avoidant, what that may look like is that they may run at the sign of any type of dispute, argument, any type of, don't judge me, any type of disagreement, they're out the door. So anxious avoidant, they may be a combination of anxious avoidant and that clingy. So they may cling for a while, but then they see the red flags, or what they perceive are red flags, and then they're ready to hit the door. So if you see these these things, so if your partner is clingy or ready to run often, or if in one moment they're clingy and then the next moment ready to run, and they are an adoptee, this is likely the fault of the trauma and the abandonment issues caused by the adoption. It is not our fault. Likewise, we understand it's not your fault either. It's not your fault either. So a lot of times it takes a very healthy person to be with a person who has been traumatized. Otherwise, we just keep triggering each other. I know that my partner is largely healthy. He does have some of his own trauma, but even though he is largely healthy, we do trigger each other, and it makes it very difficult. And in our heightened moments of activation, when he is most activated, is when I get hurt the most, because I see how little he understands about what has happened to me. And he has compassion for me, but he just doesn't understand it. He's like, you just have to stop this. As if there was a switch inside of us that we could just turn off. I have listened to other adoptees speak who have been married for many, many years and still have that fear. That fear of abandonment, that they're going to wake up one day and their partner is going to want a divorce, their partner is going to want to leave them. And it may very well be that we always feel like that. So this is my attempt to kind of explain where we are and who we are and why we are the way we are. So what then? What do you do about that? So the reason why I say it's really much better for a healthy person, somebody who is emotionally healthy, to be with somebody who is an adoptee, is because we really need you to stay present when we are activated. So how do you know we're activated? I'm not good enough. Everything is my fault. You'd be better off without me. You don't want me. I'm just gonna leave. I've never been good enough. I always mess up everything. If your partner is saying any of these things, they are activated. They are activated. So the same way that a person with trauma builds a toolbox, it's really important that you start to build a toolbox. So a really good way to deactivate someone who is activated is a hug. Now, not an aggressive, don't snatch them. And depending on how anxious your partner is, maybe you need to ask them if you can hug them. But a good, strong hug will deactivate the nervous system. So what's happening when your partner is like this is we have a parasympathetic nervous system. That's our fight or flight system, that when we were in the jungles or in the Serengeti running from tigers, this is the part of our brain that shut down systems like digestion and amped up systems like our lungs, and pump cortisol and adrenaline into our body to prepare us to run or to fight. It's a survival mechanism. It's perfectly natural. However, because when we were babies, we were so scared when we were taken away from our mother, we stay in this highly activated state most of the time. So we're scared, essentially. When we're in that moment, we are not perceiving true reality. We are reliving that moment of relinquishment when we were taken away from our mothers. And we are in a state of sheer panic and distress. So we're either going to fight, so we're going to argue with you, we're going to flee, run away from you, we're going to shut down, freeze, stop talking, non-responsive. Even when we stop talking, and we're non-responsive, our brains are in this heightened state of awareness, and there are very dangerous chemicals pumping through our body. They're not dangerous when we need adrenaline and cortisol, but if we don't need them, having these chemicals in our body is very dangerous. For 30 minutes after an activation, people are more likely to have a stroke or a heart attack. So it's really important to try to get your partner out of this heightened state, out of this heightened arousal state. A really good hug can do it. On the flip side, what usually will never do any good is trying to reason with somebody who is in a heightened state of arousal. It usually just isn't going to do any good. The rational brain has pretty much checked out, and their child brain has completely checked in. Their child brain that is in fear of being left is fully on front and center, and their adult rational brain has completely checked out. So trying to rationalize with him or her is probably not going to do a bit of good. The hug is the absolute best. If you're with a partner who just doesn't like to be touched like that, it's hard because a lot of the techniques that I use to turn off triggers or to deactivate are touch related. So running your hand up and down their arm, holding their hand. If they can't tolerate that hug, the hug is the best, but if they can't tolerate that hug, maybe holding their hand, stroking their hand. Keep a bottle of frozen water in the freezer and maybe hand it to them and suggest, so you have a restart button right here. So giving them that bottle of cold water to like press against their forehead right here will also help them reset. Please don't say to them, I see that you're activated, because that's probably going to make it worse. Words that can help. So again, touch is really amazing. It helps bring people to the present. You might suggest to them, if it's nice outside, even if it's not, even if it's brisk outside, that might be good. Like let's go for a walk. Let's just go for a walk outside. But some words that would help, definitely words that would help is, I'm not going anywhere. Don't say, you know I'm not going anywhere. Please don't say that. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you. I understand. I hear you. Or if you don't understand, I hear you. I see you. I love you. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. It goes a long way. But it's hard to be able to do these things for your partner when you are in a state of arousal. So what do I mean by that? So if your partner's activation, when their adult rational brain checks out and their child brain checks in, and they cause your adult compassionate rational brain to check out, and your damaged child comes into play, well, your two adult brains might as well go sit down and play cards, because now you've got the angry, hurt children going at each other, and it's usually not going to end well. Sticks and stones, but words can also hurt you, really, especially an adoptee. So it's hard to go through life without holding any kind of trauma, especially if you're a person of color in the United States. But if you have the wherewithal to recognize your activation, it would be highly beneficial for you to remove yourself from the situation before you hurt your partner any further or cause any additional damage. So this is really dangerous and precarious because they're already convinced that you're going to leave anyways. So this is where the hug is really important. The words are very important. If you can find it in yourself to hug them, to look them in their eyes and say, look, I am activated right now. And I don't want to talk to you like this because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt you if I talk to you like this. So I'm going to take some time, and I'll be back at this time, and then we'll talk about it. I know it's and I know, like, right now, while you're in your rational brain, you're like, yeah, I can do that. But when your rational brain is checked out and your child trauma brain has kicked in, it's very hard to have the wherewithal to do that. And it takes an immense amount of self-control and presence and awareness to do that. How much do you love this person? How much do you want to be in this person's life? People with abandonment issues in general are going to push. They're pushing you to see if you will hold them. I don't know anyone with abandonment issues that has not ever pushed. And we never want you to say, okay, that's what you want, I'll just leave. That's never what we want. What we want is you to hold on even tighter. What we want is you to say, I see your pain and I'm not going anywhere. Even though you're pushing me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm here for the long haul. And it's very important that this may be a lifetime of saying this. That it may very well be, and they may calm down, and the activated states may be fewer and further in between. But this is likely to go on for a lifetime. Healing is a process. It's not something, it's not a switch that we can turn off and on. And a lot of us have lived with the trauma so long and not even found words for that trauma until we were adults. So to try to say we're going to fix that in a couple of years is really not realistic. So, having said all that, I feel like it's very important to have some type of practice, some type of spiritual practice, whether it be a religion, whether it be meditation, whether it be kickboxing, yoga, dance, some way to get back into your body, to relieve stress and frustration, to let it go. It's very important. My partner plays basketball and he hasn't in a while, and I'm getting a little anxious about that. But it's really, really good for him. Myself, I spend a lot of time in the sun. I was spending a lot of time in the bathtub, but we found that's causing problems, so I can't do that. I'll have to find something else. Making the videos for you is very stress relieving for me. So it's very important to find, and when I say spiritual, there are many things. Gardening could be your spiritual outlet. Finding some way to tune in to the present and let go of, and to let that cortisol and adrenaline play its course and run its course throughout your body. Because again, holding on to these really harmful chemicals during heightened states of awareness is not only emotionally and mentally damaging, it's actually physically dangerous, and can cause stroke and heart attack and all kinds of damaged immune systems, autoimmune disease. It's really, really dangerous. Adoptees are at heightened risk for these things because we live in a heightened state of arousal all the time, pretty much. So, if you love an adoptee, I implore you to try to find ways to become more aware, to find ways to be compassionate and gentle with them, to hug them when they are in states of arousal, to remind them often that you love them and you're not going anywhere. It's not their fault. It is their responsibility to try to work towards getting better, but it's not their fault. And it has nothing to do with you. It is that searching and longing for that mother that we were ripped from. So I hope this has helped you. If it has, please share it with somebody else that you think might need it. As always, Kamina the Koach sending you love, light, peace, and joy. Today is Mother's Day 2021. It's always a hard day for me, so sending extra love, light, peace, and joy to you, and I hope you'll send it back to me. Until next time, Kamina the Koach, I'm out.